From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, this is Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Riley Smith. In today's show, Dustin wraps up his conversation with Iowa Senator Joni Ernst from his trip to Washington, D.C. I have the latest South America update with Greg McBride of Allendale, and special correspondent Russ Parker visits with Amy Mendee of Iowa State University about their Pathways program. Now let's welcome in our hosts, Mark Magnuson and Dustin Huffman.
Welcome into Iowa Ag Matters for this Wednesday edition of the show. Mark and Dustin with you. And Dustin, there's going to be a very interesting topic that we have to discuss with Jim McCormick of agmarket.net here this morning when I will talk about the grains here in just a little bit. And that is the situation with the Iran war. The president and the United States administration have essentially extended a one-page memorandum of understanding with Iran to formally end the active hostilities, stabilize the Strait of Hormuz, and then try to work their way through those nuclear negotiations and sanctions talks. And when we saw the, announcement of this potential deal going into place, or I guess we should say the baby steps towards a peace deal, we saw the oil price drop dramatically here in the moments after that. It dropped down. Crude oil went down $13. Now it's bounced back a little bit, but you can see why that has put the ag marketplace under some pressure here today, because we have seen throughout this conflict how those two are linked. And right now, I mean, just looking at it from the 50,000 foot view, it does seem like this is getting a little bit more real in terms of trying to get to the end of this conflict and wrap things up as far as the hostilities are concerned. But as we know, with these types of negotiation situations, there is a long way to go and a lot of sticking points to work through.
Yeah, that there is. And, a lot of this pressure is probably coming on the fact that we're about 9 days away from when President Trump is supposed to meet with President Xi in China. And, of course, China and the U.S. have different opinions on how the Strait of Hormuz is being handled. Now, obviously, China does do a lot of trade with Iran, mostly for oil and energy usage, because China obviously is a big energy user. And the fact that the Strait of Hormuz is a very big shortcut to get around Iran, to not have that access or to have U.S. blockading it is a severe detriment to China's interests. And so to try to get a deal done with China is probably going to have to do something with whether or not the U.S. and Iran can come into an agreement. Now, China can also help pressure Iran to say, hey, enough's enough. You've rejected every single deal that the U.S. has offered. Now, why don't you take a deal and start negotiating? China has that leverage to put pressure on Iran as well. So that can both be a detriment to us for trying to negotiate, that we don't want to give in too much, but also the same token is China could maybe help broker a peace a little bit as well, because it'll be in their interest to get it done. And if we can get trade done, that would be a big deal as well. So there's a lot in play. But as you said, the markets, boy, they are really being affected. The crude oil did take a hit today. Even with the return, it's still, a little bit too high, for oil, but it's coming back a little bit, but it did take a hit. Soybeans down almost 19 cents in the front months. That's just crazy as we're talking about this, but I don't think anybody's going to complain too much that crude oil may go down. I mean, for the first time, I've seen E15 over $4 a gallon. That was yesterday, driving around Ankeny a little bit and seeing 420 something for E88. That's a tough pill to swallow right now for a lot of people in an economy that's already been tight. And it just seems like every time we think there's a little bit of a breakout in this economy, something else gets heaped on top of it.
It's also this situation just shows how globalized the entire world has become. I mean, think about it. We're talking about the United States and Iran trying to end a conflict, but then China also able to exert some of that influence in that conflict when they're technically not even involved.
Right, exactly. And that's how globalization has always worked, and it's just getting more and more. The world is getting smaller, as people like to say. Well, let's get into those comments with Jim McCormick on the grains as he talked with Mark Magnuson.
Joined today by Jim McCormick of agmarket.net. Jim, what's happening with the trade in the grains?
Hey, good morning. We are seeing the market under quite a bit of pressure. We are off the overnight lows, down about 8 cents on the corn. We're down about 13 on the beans. Chicago wheat down about 18 cents. KC wheat down about 14 3/4 cents. the big reason why we are down is wire service are reporting that the U.S. is working on a one-page agreement to end the war with Iran, setting up a framework for detailed nuclear negotiations going forward. The working memorandum, which has not yet been agreed upon, includes a full reopening of the Strait of Hormuz and the U.S. lifting sanctions and releasing billions of dollars of frozen Iranian assets. On that news, the crude oil market dropped about $13 at one time. We have come off the lows. We're only down $6 as President Trump is tweeting out if Iran does not take this agreement, their war would re-engage. The Iranians have not really commented on it yet. So a lot of volatility, and it just shows you guys how much money is involved in our ag markets tied specifically to the higher crude oil market.
And that's an interesting situation, Jim. Was there any kind of a deadline given then by President Trump?
At this point, I have not seen any headline. So we'll see. I mean, the volatility is going to remain high. Like I said, we are already off the overnight lows, but are under pressure. Hopefully we can get this deal done. It will help drive down the price of energy. Obviously, right now, if you look at the price of diesel, it's trading at all-time highs in several states across the country. And then the other part of the market that has driven the market quite a bit higher was the inflationary fear of food shortages due to the lack of fertilizer. That's really not going to be a problem for the Northern Hemisphere. It's probably going to be more of a problem for the Southern Hemisphere if you cannot get this Strait or Hormuz open. The other wild card we do have to deal with is next week. We do still have, as far as I know, President Trump and President Xi are going to meet in China. That is going to have a huge ramification potential on the ag industry if we can get some solid commitments of China to buy ag goods. The reason why I say it's so important is if you look at the price of beans in Brazil, they're trading $1 to $1.50 discount to us. So our beans are holding a premium, not because it's an economic value. Part of it is because it's a political anticipation of a political deal. If we cannot get that political deal of China to buy ag goods, that could also be a negative impetus to the market, and that could cause some pressures that could be compounded if for some reason we can manage to get an off-ramp to this war with Iran.
Your local radio station brings you the local news you depend on. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network complements that with ag news, weather, and market updates tailored for Iowa's farmers. Together, we deliver the best of both worlds, local connection and industry expertise. It's all to keep you connected with the heartbeat of the heartland. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, connecting rural Iowa with the news that matters to you.
You're listening to Iowa Ag Matters, and as you know, Dustin Huffman recently in Washington, D.C., and while he was there, had the chance to speak with Senator Joni Ernst. Here's Dustin wrapping up that conversation here on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network.
And talking about the old USDA and some of the stuff you've been talking about, the office buildings and things like that. What is going on with the South office building right now?
Yes, we are seeing the South USDA office building up for sale. So this is a great accomplishment, a wonderful win for us. This is an over 2 million square foot building that on good days is at the most 30% occupied. Most often it's only 15% occupied. And we have $1.6 billion of deferred maintenance on that building. It's time we cut the taxpayers loose and get rid of the building. And I'm very proud to say this is one that I've been after for a long time. And those workers in that building will be relocated to other areas. We'll be able to put that monstrosity up for sale, hopefully see it redeveloped and put back on the taxpayer rolls here in Washington, D.C.
And yesterday, we also heard from Secretary Rollins and, of course, other members of the cabinet, as well as EPA Administrator Zeldin, talking about the fertilizer situation. Yes. I know Iowa farmers are watching that closely. Spring, we're okay, because everybody kind of booked ahead of everything. But then we're looking at fall and into next spring as well. I mean, what kind of things are you hearing in the Senate that we can maybe do to help the situation as well?
Yes, and transparency is key to this. At any time we see transparency within the system, that helps. Competitiveness, knowing where the glitches are, but then also we need to bring back a lot of this fertilizer manufacturing to the United States. And instead of importing, where we see the Straits of Hormuz now are creating an issue, tariffs issue. So there's just so many different ways that we can handle this. But number one is bring those jobs back to the United States, locate some of these production facilities in the Midwest where we know we're going to use those products. One issue I've been involved in is making sure that the critical components of our fertilizer are added back onto the critical minerals list. And so this has been a big push. We've been successful in that. But again, bring those jobs back to the United States of America, provide jobs and more certainty for our Iowa farmers.
And we have seen the tariffs be backed off on the Moroccan imports, which will help as well. But obviously there are things that we can't get in the United States that we have to import, like potash and things like that. You know, in that situation, obviously USMCA is up for an agreement and potash comes, a lot of it from Canada. I mean, what kind of things are we seeing on these fronts from what you're hearing?
Yeah, again, working with the departments, whether it's EPA, USDA, and making sure that those are included in our critical minerals list, because we do import. The war in Ukraine, because we do have a lot of those, the potash in particular coming out of Ukraine and Russia, that has been stymied now for a couple of years. So again, just focusing on where can we find those critical elements, and can we friendshore? If it's something that we don't have here in the United States, is what we call friendshoring, working with allies and partners to get those products into the United States.
And mentioning Canada, obviously USMCA is up for renegotiation. Any comment on what you'd like to see out of that negotiation?
Yeah, certainly. Well, we'd like to see it stay put. Any modifications or tweaks, great. Along the way, I saw Jamison Greer, our U.S. trade rep, the other day, and just encouraged him to continue pushing on this. USMCA is very important to Iowa. Our top two trade partners, Mexico and Canada.
Your local radio station brings you the local news you depend on. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network complements that with ag news, weather, and market updates tailored for Iowa's farmers. Together, we deliver the best of both worlds, local connection and industry expertise. It's all to keep you connected with the heartbeat of the heartland. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, connecting rural Iowa with the news that matters to you.
Time for a rundown on those basis bids for you here on Iowa Ag Matters on this Wednesday. I'm Dustin Huffman. Taking a look at some cash bids around the state. In fact, nobody making any changes to their prices. Let's see where they're shaping up with the markets. ADM Burlington, a dime under on corn, $4.59. Soybeans, 23 cents under, $11.80. Cargill and Eddyville, 20 cents under on corn, $4.49 for the cash bid. New Co-op Algona, 44 cents under on corn, $4.25. Soybeans, 72 cents under, cash price, $11.31. Ag State Sheldon, 30 cents under on corn, $4.39. Soybeans, 75 cents under, $11.28. Ag State Alta, 38 cents under on corn, $4.31. Soybeans, 70 cents under, cash bid $11.33. Cargill Cedar Rapids, 17 cents under on corn, cash bid $4.52. Soybeans, 30 cents under, $11.73. Five Star Co-op Nashua, 35 cents under on corn, $4.34. Soybeans, 70 cents under, $11.33. Lincoln Way Energy Nevada, 29 cents under on corn, $4.40 for the cash bid. ADM Des Moines, 30 cents under on soybeans, $11.73 for their cash price. New Co-op Red Oak, 37 cents under on corn, $4.32. Soybeans, 70 cents under at $11.33. Mid-Iowa Cooperative Green Mountain, 53 cents under on corn, cash bid $4.16. Soybeans, 86 cents under at $11.17. New Co-op Sheraton, 36 cents under on corn, $4.33. Soybeans, 70 cents under at $11.33 for the cash price. Walk-On Feed Ranch, 47 cents under on corn, $4.22. Soybeans, 70 cents under at $11.33. New Co-op Glidden, 42 cents under on corn, $4.27. Soybeans, 70 cents under, cash bid $11.33. Innovative Ag Farley, 47 cents under on corn, cash price $4.22. Soybeans, 71 cents under, $11.32. And Cargill Muscatine, 20 cents under on corn, $4.49. Soybeans, 30 cents under at $11.73. Cash corn and soybean bids are subject to change without notice. Always check with your local elevator when making sales to obtain the most recent price. That's been a check of your cash corn and soybean bids here on Iowa Ag Matters. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this message.
Stay informed with the closing market report from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, your essential summary of the day's market activities and their impact on the agricultural economy. Join us for timely updates and expert commentary on commodity prices and market trends. with trusted ag market analysts from around the Midwest. Tune in every Monday through Friday on your local Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network affiliate for your daily market recap and insights to stay ahead in the ag economy.
Here on Iowa Ag Matters, it is time now for the South America weather and crop update as Riley Smith is joined by Greg McBride of Allendale. Here's Riley and Greg with more on the situation in South America.
On the phone right now with Greg McBride of Allendale as we take a look at the conditions down in South America for another week. First off, Greg, what are the latest weather patterns looking like for Brazil and Argentina?
Very similar to what we've seen the last few weeks here. You've got dryness in the bulk of the country of Argentina. Now the north and northwestern portions continue to see rain. It's more of the central and eastern portions of the country that are on the drier side. Southern Brazil getting rain. Maybe even you can make the argument a little bit too much rain for some of those areas, but overall still moving along. You've got active harvest in both Argentina and Brazil. You've also got active pollination for that second crop corn in Brazil. When you look out to the 6 to 10 day forecast, it's actually more of the same dryness in the same areas. It is a little bit drier in southern Brazil, so drying out a little bit. Argentina is still seeing drier weather to continue to see movement along with their harvest progress here.
And as we talk about that harvest progress, how are things looking at this point?
Yeah, Argentina at the point now of looking at 18% complete on their soybean harvest. This would put them behind the 5-year average and last year. So last year they were at 25%, and the 5-year average puts them at 39%. So now remember, some of those years were in drought years, but we do still look at them as falling a little bit behind where they need to be on soybean harvest. Corn harvest moving right along. It is in line or ahead of last year and the 5-year average. So 35% on this week and 31% for last year and 29% for the 5-year average.
And then when we look over in Brazil right now, we know they're working on that, working on having that second crop corn grow right now, but how are things looking with the first crop and then soybeans?
Yeah, trying to finish things up here. We are at a point now where you've got harvest at 96% complete. 98% is where they were at this point last year. 97% is the 5-year average. So in line. I mean, it's all but in the bag at this point. It's just one of those got to get it knocked out and finished. On the first crop corn, again, just a touch behind where they normally would be at this point. 81% complete. 87 is where they were at last year. 84% for the 5-year average. So overall, harvest in Brazil moving along at the desired pace, maybe just slightly behind pace on the first crop corn there.
And then when we look at the ending stocks down there, how could that kind of turn around and become a benefit for, the farmers here in the U.S.?
Yeah, so what we're watching right now, we talk about the dryness that's starting to maybe bring some ripples into the production phase for second crop corn. You've got a situation where they are in active pollination this last couple of weeks. They will actually finish probably this week or next week. But some of those drier areas could see some light drops in overall production because of that dryness during the pollination phase. So that'll be something to watch. You bring down their production. Let's say maybe we just start with bringing it down by 1 to 2 million metric tons. Maybe it's 3 or 4, something like that. I wouldn't go crazy. I don't think it's a massive drought issue at this point. I think it's just taking the top end off. But then what you're also talking about down in Brazil is the fact that they are looking at increasing their use of corn for ethanol. They've gone that way now for about the last 4 or 5 years, where they've increased, and this is getting to a point where now they've got some fairly tight ending stocks. You look at their stocks to use ratio, and it's sitting at about 6.5%. The record in the last say 10 to 20 years is is 5.2%. That's fairly tight. If you cut their production, and depending on how much you do, and you increase their overall usage for corn for ethanol, now you're talking about maybe retesting that 5 to 5.5 percent stocks to use ratio, which would be very, very tight. Would also free things up to maybe see some switchover of export demand to the United States, maybe to the tune of 50 million bushels, something like that. So that is a situation we'll have to continue to monitor. Obviously, tighter ending stocks means that there's less to ship out, especially if you're using a good portion of that. Not necessarily that you're losing it in production, but you're using it for other necessities.
All right, Greg, lots of great information today for everybody who'd like to get in touch for more marketing information and get in touch with the team at Allendale. How can they do that?
Give us a call at 800-2-MARKET. That's 800-262-7538.
Hi, my name is Ethan Smith, and I've been a certified crop advisor in Iowa for about 6 years. The Iowa CCA program is valuable to me because it helps keep me informed on new topics and research around the industry, including soils, insects, diseases, and much more. It's also a great way to network with others around the state and beyond. Iowa is known for its crops, and that's why we're here. To learn more about becoming a certified crop advisor, visit iowacca.org.
Dustin, the U.S. Department of Justice has launched an antitrust investigation into the nation's beef processing industry, raising concerns about market concentration and its impact on producers of cattle. And according to federal officials, the four largest processors, Tyson Foods, Cargill, JBS, and National Beef Packing, those four companies that they're looking into, and that is, they control about 85% of the fed cattle market.
Yeah, that they do, and that has been a long time coming, that people are wanting this to be looked into. You have to go back over 100 years when President Teddy Roosevelt did the antitrust investigation when there was six packers controlling about 60% of it and decided it needed to be busted up. So a lot of producers are thinking this is a long time coming. More Iowa Ag Matters in a moment.
Your local radio station brings you the local news you depend on. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network complements that with ag news, weather, and market updates tailored for Iowa's farmers. Together, we deliver the best of both worlds, local connection and industry expertise. It's all to keep you connected with the heartbeat of the heartland. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, connecting rural Iowa with the news that matters to you. This is the Midday Market Update on Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Mark Magnuson, joined in midday by Ethan Robson of agmarket.net. Ethan, what's happening with the trade in the grains after a rough start to the day on Wednesday?
Yeah, rough start indeed. Have some risk off coming on the table here. July corn's down about 10.5 cents, 469.5. New crop corn down about 9.5, 491 even. Soybean market July down about 20 cents, 11.91.5. New crop soybeans down about 16, 11.73. Wheat market down about 14, 15 cents. Big story coming into the open today. Reports coming that U.S. and Iran are close to a ceasefire agreement in the Middle East, coming to an agreement to end the war. That had crude oil drop sharply lower and heating oil as well. Crude oil bounced back off of its 50-day moving average on the charts. Still down pretty heavy today, down about 6% today, down about $6 a barrel. That bled over to the grains and oilseeds markets today.
And Ethan, as you mentioned there, the potential for the end of the conflict, there's still a long way to go, though, in terms of all of those points in the memorandum, including what's going to happen with the Strait of Hormuz. Will it be able to stay open? What's going to happen with the deliberations over the nuclear material? All of those things still need to play out to get to the end of the line. But at least here today, it's all tied back to essentially the oil price crashing, isn't it?
It is, yeah. There's a lot more unknowns than answers, especially right now. And there is no, at least right now, there has been no official agreement yet. So headline risk still remains for both the bulls and the bears. Seems like it's more of a headline reaction right now. Who knows, by the end of the close today or tomorrow morning, this could be totally different. So just urge producers and clients just to stay on top of it, stay disciplined, and have the proper risk management strategies in place.
Over on the other side of the markets, has it been as rough of a day in the cattle and hogs?
No, good day for the cattle side. Seems some spread action going on there, buying the cattle, selling some lean hogs there. Live cattle up about $1 to $1.50 across the board. Feeder cattle up about $2 there. Lean hogs down the opposite, down about $1 in the front months. Stock market, macro-wise, stock market's up big, metals market's up big as well. Feel like cattle's following the equities today.
And what's happening with the hog side of the market?
Yeah, hog side, a little bit of a weaker tone there, down about $1.70 in the June market. Just trying to find some footing after the recent sell-off. Down below all major moving averages, 10-day, 20-day, 50-day.
Farmers, stay on top of your local market with Basis Matters from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. Every day, we bring you the latest corn and soybean cash prices from inland grain elevators and river terminals across Iowa. Get the prices you need to make the best-selling decisions, no matter where you are in the state. Basis Matters connects you to the numbers that matter most to your farm. Tune in every weekday only on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network and make informed grain marketing decisions with Basis Matters.
May corn down 13 cents at $4.52.5. December corn down 9 1/4 at $4.91 1/4. May soybeans down 19 3/4 at $11.76. November soybeans down 16 at $11.73 1/2. On the Merc, June live cattle up 78 at $2.54. May feeder cattle up $1.23 at $3.73.05. June lean hogs down $1.63 at $99.80. June pork cutout unchanged at $115.85. That was a check of the midday markets on Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Mark Magnuson.
Well, back onto the markets we go as we look at what's happening in the livestock side of things as Jim McCormick of agmarket.net rejoins the conversation with Mark Magnuson. Cattle and hogs had a little bit of a turnaround yesterday, but how are they faring as we look in the middle of the week? We'll find out more.
What's happening on the livestock side of the trade?
We're seeing a little bit of a bounce today in the cattle market. We had that hard break here. On Monday, it reversed. It came back. So we're up about 35 cents on the cattle. Hogs are under a little bit of pressure. That probably has to do with a little bit of optimism of energy prices dropping, as well as the stock market continues to make new highs on the combination of very good earnings coming out of Wall Street, as well as, like I said, optimism that maybe we are getting close to wrapping up this war with Iran.
And Jim, we've heard some stories here recently about packers and packing plants, taking losses because of the very high prices for beef. How real is that, and how much is them kind of saber rattling to maybe try and say that they're in a tough spot and I guess basically kind of looking for some sympathy?
Well, I mean, most of them don't come in here and specifically tell you exactly what they're losing, but it's not all the realm of probability that they are losing at times money. I mean, the packing industry, has got to pay up for the beef, and then they've got to convince the consumer to pay for it. I mean, in general, they're making money, but there's no doubt about it. You're seeing a lot of saber rattling with the Trump administration out there saying they're going to be investigating them for price collusion. The reality is this. I don't think there's much price collusion. The fact of the matter is the reason why beef prices are so high is plain and simple. We've got a consumer that wants it. We are a beef eating country. And the fact of the matter is due to weather issues more than anything else, drought in the plains affecting grass. The cattle herd has shrunk to the tightest supply in 60 years. And that is what the market is doing. It's reacting to a demand that's there against a very tight supply.
What's the best way for our listeners to get in touch for more marketing information?
Best way to get in touch with any of the Ag Market members is go to agmarket.net, sign up for some research.
Jim McCormick, agmarket.net, my guest here on Wednesday. Thanks so much for the time and have a great day.
Thank you for having me on.
Hi, my name is Ethan Smith, and I've been a certified crop advisor in Iowa for about 6 years. The Iowa CCA program is valuable to me because it helps keep me informed on new topics and research around the industry, including soils, insects, diseases, and much more. It's also a great way to network with others around the state and beyond. Iowa is known for its crops, and that's why we're here. To learn more about becoming a certified crop advisor, visit iowacca.org.
In rural Iowa, we know you're sold on your local radio station. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network partners with local Iowa stations to deliver the latest in agriculture news, including grain elevator prices, market reports, and ag policy news. Trusted local voices, trusted ag content. This message is brought to you by your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, where Iowa Ag matters.
Here on Iowa Ag Matters, it is time now for Russ Parker's conversation with Amy Mendee of Iowa State University as he learns more about the Pathways program, right here on Iowa Ag Matters.
Pathways program was first launched in spring 2025 after a couple of years of experience and research and collaboration across our departments. The gap we're trying to address is to help students connect the bridge between classroom learning with career development opportunities. Students do get involved in a lot of different opportunities across campus. They do internships, study abroad programs, they get involved in research. A lot of students do student employment now. It's really hard to really think about what are the skills that they're gaining from those experiences and how it translates to their future career. So with Pathways, students can now confidently say, not just, oh, I've done study abroad, but this is exactly what I can do and what I learned from this experience. So we're giving students confidence to talk about their experiences in a meaningful way, because employers, they talk in a different language. Higher education talk also in a different language. So we're trying to help students have that language to really articulate their experiences and skills. We do that in collaboration with our 14 departments in the college. We have something called Pathway Planner here. So the Pathway Planner is just similar to a 4-year degree plan. I don't know if you had 4-year degree plan when you were in college, where your advisor sits you down and these are the classes you need to take for graduation. And this is exact same, but for out of classroom activities. So instead of having those incidental engagement in college, oh, my friend is doing study abroad, so I'll join. But this helps students to plan their engagement very intentionally, who they are, what they value, what kind of impact they want to make in agriculture and life sciences field. And also write down, I want to do study abroad before I graduate college. And this helps them figure out when they can do it. They get introduced to a lot of opportunities. And more importantly, that language piece of what are the skills? And we give them some language around these are the skills employers are looking for, regardless of your background or major. So we have agronomy students, we also have biology students. So this is open to all students across different majors, because regardless of what they graduated with, what their degree is in, everybody needs a critical thinking. So we're helping them to get the language from this. We also offer workshops for our students and hands-on learning opportunities that are all built on what College of Ag and Life Sciences is known for. It's experiential learning. We're not building a new experiential learning, but we're building that structure around that so that now students, when they do science with practice, when they do study abroad, they can receive something called micro-credentials to showcase what they've done. One of the programs that we built, this micro-credential, Entrepreneurship Impact, was based around students involved in Start Something. They are learning so many different skills, and once they're ready to talk about what they've learned in that, they can have the language, because all the micro-credentials are digital, approved by Iowa State. They can share it on their LinkedIn, on their resume, and then they can prove employers that, hey, this is what I did, and this is all the things I've learned from this. And on campus, micro-credential is also a very new initiative. It's a campus-wide initiative, and Pathways program is leading that initiative with 26 micro-credentials offered to students. That is for a reason, because we know every student's pathway looks different, and we want them to have that autonomy to choose what makes most sense for them, because, as I said, what students graduating from agriculture education versus biology would look different. So we help them choose their own experiences and highlight what makes sense for them. So we offer workshops, we offer hands-on learning, public presentation opportunities. We also work with our career services to do mock interviews. One of the daunting tasks when I was in college was to give interviews to employers, because I'm really bad at talking about myself, but I wish I had something similar to practice how I talk about myself in interviews. So we also offer that experience for students.
Okay, I've been with Amy Mendee. She is the Pathways Director here at Iowa State University. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
In rural Iowa, we know you're sold on your local radio station. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network partners with local Iowa stations to deliver the latest in agriculture news, including grain elevator prices, market reports, and ag policy news. Trusted local voices, trusted ag content. This message is brought to you by your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, where Iowa Ag matters.
Well, that is going to put the wraps on another edition of Iowa Ag Matters. You can catch anything you missed on this program or catch other programs on our podcast tab at iowaagnet.com. You can also find our market numbers there and also find out about the Heart of the County Fair Awards. Those nominations are open, and there's still a chance for you to get someone nominated for one of those prestigious awards. Thanks to Mark, thanks to Riley, and thanks to Russ, and of course, thanks to you for listening. We'll see you tomorrow on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network.